Hello, everyone. Our channel selects viewpoints and analytical articles from think tanks and well-known figures within the Chinese internet and presents them to Western readers so that everyone can understand how China thinks. If you find this helpful, please subscribe, hit the like button, and share our channel. Thank you.
Published on November 10, 2025. In today's world, an intriguing phenomenon is unfolding. Small countries, once the greatest beneficiaries of global markets, are now increasingly adopting anti-globalization measures. This is difficult to explain through economic rationality alone. One possible reason is that, amid the great power rivalries and trade tensions between major nations, smaller countries are under growing pressure to take sides. To safeguard their own economic and political security, some choose protectionist strategies to reduce dependence on a particular major power, or to win favor from another, hoping to secure a position within a newly emerging alliance structure. In essence, they are placing their bets. The post-war era has been the most prosperous golden age in human history. Despite the Cold War's shadow from 1945 to 2024, global nominal GDP grew roughly 138 times, while the global population increased only 3.4 times. Even after adjusting for inflation, the real growth may have reached 30-fold. This expansion wasn't driven merely by labor supply, but by the establishment of an international order represented by institutions like the United Nations, the World Bank, and the International Monetary Fund. That framework provided stability for global trade and investment. Under it, the GATT and later the WTO advanced trade liberalization, enabling goods, capital, and technology to flow efficiently across borders, fueling waves of technological revolutions that rapidly benefited the entire world. From post-war reconstruction to the information age, and now to the digital and artificial intelligence revolutions, technological progress and global diffusion have vastly enhanced productivity and created entirely new industries. In the 1990s, the United States and China became two major growth poles. The U.S. leveraged its vast consumer market, technological strength, and dollar dominance, while China integrated deeply into global supply and industrial chains through reform and opening up. Together, they formed the twin engines of global growth and sustained the world trading system. During this golden era, not only did the great powers benefit, small countries did too. Unlike large economies with substantial domestic demand, small countries depend heavily on free trade. Their domestic markets are too limited to sustain large-scale industrialization, so they often abandon the idea of building complete industrial systems and instead pursued outward-looking economic strategies, capitalizing on policy flexibility and geographic advantages to specialize within the global division of labor. Through trade, they complemented the strengths of others, creating Pareto improvements for all. For them, active participation in free trade is not merely an option. It's a strategic necessity for survival and development. Yet in recent years, the global trade order has become increasingly fragile. The conflicts surrounding Nexperia, a semiconductor company based in the Netherlands, marks a clear acceleration in the breakdown of that old order. Nexperia originated from Philips's physics laboratory in the Netherlands. It mainly produces automotive-grade power devices, which are widely used by car makers in Germany and Japan. Its small-signal diodes, transistors, ESD protectors, and small-signal MOSFETs have ranked first in global shipments for years, making the company critical to the global automotive industry. Back in 2015, NXP Semiconductors planned to acquire Freescale for $38 billion. For antitrust compliance, it had to divest its radio frequency power business. At that time, Dutch executives considered it low-end and slow-growing, not part of the company's transformation plan. Meanwhile, during China's overseas acquisition boom, Chinese investors were eager to buy firms with core technologies to boost their semiconductor capabilities. Negotiations went smoothly, and within just 6 months, the deal cleared reviews from regulators in China, the US, and the European Union. In 2017, NXP officially completed the sale for $2.75 billion. Its wafer fabs in the UK and Germany, assembly and testing plants in China, Malaysia, and the Philippines, and its Industrial Technology Center in the Netherlands were transferred to Chinese ownership, while patents remained under unified management in the Netherlands. That moment marked the twilight of the Golden Age. Since the onset of the chip wars, such a deal could no longer be approved. After the acquisition, Zhang Shuizheng, founder of Wingtech Technology, gradually stepped into the spotlight. Through a series of bold mergers, he brought Nexperia fully under Wingtech's control. Chinese capital revitalized this old European company. And even as the automotive industry entered a new phase, Nexperia's products became more essential than ever. By 2024, it reported revenue of 14.7 billion yuan and net profit of 2.3 billion yuan, serving as a key supplier to BYD, Tesla, and Volkswagen. But as Donald Trump returned to the White House, trade frictions flared again. By the end of 2024, Wingtech was placed on the U.S. Entity List, disrupting the fragile balance between Nexperia's Dutch headquarters and its Chinese investors. In June 2025, under U.S. pressure, Nexperia was told to replace its Chinese management team. Then in September, the U.S. Department of Commerce invoked the so-called 50% rule, meaning that any foreign subsidiary owned 50% or more by a blacklisted entity would face the same export controls. This effectively barred companies using American technology from cooperating with Nexperia. The Dutch caretaker government was quick to act. It invoked a 1950s-era Goods Supply Act, freezing Nexperia's global operations for 1 year, and a Dutch court swiftly suspended Zhang's authority, transferring control to a trustee. Officials accused him of improperly transferring assets and intellectual property to unrelated foreign entities. On October 26th, Nexperia's Dutch headquarters announced it was halting wafer supplies to its Dongguan facility in China, claiming unpaid obligations. That plant handled 70% of Nexperia's global packaging and testing, producing up to 250 million chips per day. The news sent shockwaves through the automotive sector. Though each automotive chip costs just 5 cents, replacing them would require extensive vehicle recertification. European and Japanese automakers warned that production lines could halt within weeks. In reality, by enforcing the 50% rule, the U.S. handed the Dutch government a pretext to justify its seizure of Nexperia as a reluctant response to external pressure. Still, the Busan talks between China and the United States brought a turning point. Washington agreed to suspend the rule for 1 year. That eased the immediate tension, leaving the Dutch move legally and politically shaky. However, the Dutch response was slow. They reassured European automakers that talks with the Chinese side were ongoing, yet the Dutch headquarters simultaneously warned clients about quality risks from Chinese-made chips, an unmistakable act of pressure. For years, European countries have played a delicate game, sheltering behind America's power while profiting from their victim image. This time it's clear the Dutch regret the old sale and are using supply threats to renegotiate terms in their favor. But today's China is not the China of a decade ago. With the rise of electric vehicles and a fully upgraded automotive supply chain, the Netherlands' leverage has greatly diminished. When Wingtech was blacklisted by the U.S., Chinese firms already anticipated conflict. Nexperia China declared itself an independent business with ample inventory to meet all client demands. The Chinese Foreign Ministry voiced strong support, condemning discriminatory measures. Soon after, Nexperia resumed domestic shipments, this time settled in renminbi rather than US dollars, signaling a decisive shift. Then, on November 6th, Dutch Minister Mickey Adriaansens announced that with the new US-China agreement, Nexperia's chips would soon reach customers worldwide. China's Ministry of Commerce confirmed that it had granted export exemptions to stabilize the global semiconductor supply chain. Even as Nexperia's Dutch management kept up its rhetoric, it was clear the matter was no longer in their hands. Reports suggest the Dutch headquarters tried to rebuild its supply chain outside China, but no company dared take the risk of losing access to the Chinese market. For a small economy like the Netherlands, which thrives on open trade, it would make far more sense to advocate a return to free markets and global stability. After all, when every nation prioritizes security over cooperation, big powers can absorb the shock, but small countries will suffer most. Today, major powers continue to compete without direct confrontation, often using smaller nations as instruments in their struggle. The Netherlands, caught between dependence on China and loyalty to the U.S., is trapped in this geopolitical tug-of-war. While both sides now have room for negotiation, this is merely a temporary truce. The deeper consequence is that global trust has sunk to a new low. China's industries will increasingly pursue self-reliance, while Europe will erect higher barriers against Chinese investment. We are witnessing, in real time, the end of the world's golden age.